welcome back to
Unknown,
Unsolved
Unseen.
Triple U.
We're your host. I'm Frank.
And I'm Sage. And before we hop into our second episode here, I just wanted to first thank everybody who listened to our first episode and gave us some ratings and some positive feedback. We're super thankful for every engagement that we get, and it means that we can continue to do this and enjoy ourselves while we're doing it.
Yeah, every follow, listen, it means a lot to us. Every little thing matters and counts. I was really surprised how many people listened to the first episode. Can't wait to see us grow from here. So, just keep hitting that that follow, and, tell your friends and family about us so they can listen too. And I also wanted to pivot into another thing. So we'll see if I can follow up with this going forward, but wanted to give you guys a heads up about a cryptid day going on. So in Columbia, PA, Sage and I are going to be traveling there. Well, it'll be this weekend for you guys because this will release on September 30th. So on October 5th will be the Owlbat Witch Day. And the Owlbat Witch, in case you don't know, is a type of Bigfoot, one that is smaller and likes to take apples and hide in the tree. So in Columbia, they have a whole entire day for it. Uh, Sage and I are going to be traveling there, taking the long drive, and we're going to spend the day there and check it out.
Yeah, we've been really fortunate that we have gotten to go to this festival once before.
Yeah, I think that was 2 years ago.
Yeah, and
No,
so we do
three.
have a little bit of an idea of what we're going to see when we get there, but it's always really fun to go to new festivals or even ones we've been to and just see what's changed, what new vendors are there, what new things they're doing, whether that's educational pieces or memorabilia or things like that. It's always just a nice day for us to get out and kind of explore something we both really enjoy.
Yeah, and we'll look up. We'll be on the lookout for other festivals and stuff like this, whether it's ghosts, cryptid, aliens, and we'll give you guys a heads up.
For sure.
All right, Sage, you want to get into it?
Yeah, I do. All right, so today we are going to be traveling to Los Angeles, California, to the infamous Cecil Hotel.
Ooh,
You,
that's spooky.
yes, so you've probably heard of this hotel if you pay attention to any kind of true crime, because there was a recent death in the early 2010s at the hotel that sparked a lot of questions for the public. However, this is not the only interesting event that has happened at the Hotel Cecil.
Really, there's more.
There is more, and we're going to get into it.
Oh, I really only know about the big one in the 2010.
All right. Well, that is going to be kind of what I get to last. I'm going to basically go through an ordered list from when the hotel opened to its most recent activities.
All right, give it to us.
All right. So, kind of like what Frank did with Roswell, I'm going to start by giving a little bit of history on the Cecil Hotel, and then we will really get into the interesting happenings that are occurring on the other side of the country from us. So, the Cecil Hotel is located at 640 Main Street in Los Angeles, California, and was built in 1924 by William Banks Hanner, who put nearly $1 million, or what is probably roughly about $8.5 to $20 million in today's money, into the construction of the hotel. It was supposed to be an internationally known stay for businessmen and high class individuals, with a marble lobby, stained glass windows, grand staircases, 15 stories, and over 700 rooms. You can imagine why Hanner believed this would be a huge hit among the world's elite.
Dang, that is a big hotel, and that's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's a lot of work for the early 1920s.
If I had that money, I would not be building a hotel.
Yeah, I don't know that I would be building a hotel either. All right, so because of the intricate details that Hanner and his architect Lloyd Lester Smith wanted the hotel to have, it's kind of guesstimated that it took about 3 years to complete and officially opened for business on December 20th, 1927. There are other reports saying that it opened earlier than that. This is the one that I found that was most consistent.
Why would there be different dates to that?
I think some people considered the groundbreaking in the early 1924 to be like when it was opened. I'm not sure if they opened rooms as they built them or What?
I feel like that'd be something that they would have recorded, but if everyone's reporting different, then that's weird.
Yeah, like I said, this is the most consistent, so it's the one I chose.
Okay.
So it would cost about $1.50 a night for a room that had a shared bath, $2 a night for a room with its own toilet, and $2.50 a night for a full private bathroom.
What is that in today's money? Because I would kill for that.
Honestly, I don't know. If um I remember correctly from when I briefly looked it up, it's like $75.
Still not bad.
Not bad at all when you consider some hotels are thousands of dollars a night.
Yeah, I don't like staying at stuff that expensive. I mean, hey, if I could do 250 a night, I'd just end up living there. 'Cause that'd be cheaper than rent anywhere.
You're not wrong, it would be. So as you can probably guess, the hotel was unfortunately not immune to the Great Depression.
Well, I don't think many things were.
Oh. By the end of October of 1929, the US stock markets were crashing, and the next few years would see more traded stocks, more crashing, loss of jobs, loss of crops, and more. Unfortunately, due to the high prices for rooms, which at the time they were high prices, the high class visitors dwindled because many of them got their money from stocks or they just weren't traveling into the city. Main Street LA then became known as Skid Row, which is how a lot of that street is referred to today still. It became home to tens of thousands of homeless and transient populations, all within a 4-mile radius of the hotel. They used the hotel as a meeting place, and then it also became home for junkies, runaways, and other criminals.
So what you're trying to say, long story short, is this is from the Great Depression. Therefore, this is all Herbert Hoover's fault.
I guess so.
That dang Hoover.
I mean, if that's how you want to look at it.
Just gotta blame somebody.
Okay. So, unfortunately, the effects of the Great Depression are still negatively impacting Cecil today, as it was never able to rid itself of the reputation for mystery, crime, conspiracy, and drugs. I will say that it was really difficult to get a true history of this hotel because there's so many reports out there that have varying dates or names for any of the deaths that I'm about to list. So I did my best to put them in a timeline, but it might not be what the actual history is.
What, like, were some of them just like made up or sensationalized? I presume.
That, but I also think that some of it had to do with it just being like it's older. I mean, this hotel at this point's now it's 100 years old.
Dang, you are right. Yeah,
So
because it yeah, that kind of reminds me of Roswell. How there's so many different stories from so many people, and some of them you can tell are 100% fake, but they people still report them.
yeah, exactly. So it also became known for its mysterious deaths that took place on the hotel grounds, as well as the elusive guests that stayed at the hotel. So in the 1930s, completed suicides were increasingly common among the population due to hardships brought on by the Great Depression. So I do just want to give a little bit of a warning that I am going to talk about some suicides as well as murder. For anyone who doesn't want to listen to that, that's okay. We'll see you next week.
Well, I'll stay here. Don't worry.
So in January of 1927, Percy Ormond Cook, who was a former real estate dealer, is said to have completed suicide via a firearm shot to the head after a falling out with his wife and child that he had been unable to rectify. So this is before even the Great Depression hit. So pretty much right off the bat, the year it opened, pretty much.
That ain't good.
No. In 1931, W.K. Norton, who was 46 at the time, took his own life by ingesting poison. I could not find out whether this was confirmed, but poison capsules were found in the pockets of his jacket by investigators, so some suspect he either took them or he was forced to take them. He'd been dead for only a few hours when he was found by hotel maid staff in his room. He was staying at the hotel under the name of James Willis, though, so it took a long time for people to actually identify him.
So this guy came to the hotel, took poison pills, whether he did it himself or somebody forced him, and was here under a fake name.
Yep,
That's suspicious.
it is suspicious, but I literally could not find any other information on him.
All right.
All right. Continuing on in 1932, so just about a year later, Benjamin Dodich, completed suicide by shooting himself in the head. And then later that same year, a young truck driver was killed when he was pinned between his truck and one of the walls of the hotel. In 1934, former Army Sergeant Louis de Bourdon, who was 53 at the time, was found dead after slashing his throat with a razor. There were farewell notes found by his body that stated he was taking his life due to his own poor health. But that's not what makes his death interesting. He did write on one of his notes that he wanted a Mrs. Edna Hastener of P.O. Box 664 in Emmons, Washington, to be the sole beneficiary of the little that he had left. There is no information on this woman, what her relationship is to Borden. I don't want to assume something, but I suspect maybe either a sibling or maybe a long-lost lover. I have no idea why you would just leave the little that you have left to a random woman.
Was he married?
Not that I could find, and this woman is Mrs. with a different last name than him.
Ooh.
That's why I'm thinking maybe like long lost like lover?
Or an affair.
That as well. So this is one of the reports that had varying dates, so it's either 1934 or 1937. Grace E. Margot may have completed suicide by dropping from a 9th-story window. I say may have, because she had telephone cords wrapped around her neck. So investigators could not be certain that she jumped from the window or if she fell from the window.
So, like, when you mean fell, do you mean like somebody pushed her out? Or
Yeah.
like she got tangled in something and accidentally fell?
So I found some reports that the telephone wires were like the wires from outside, and that they may have wrapped around her body throughout the fall from her room. I do think that that is a little suspicious, though, because how would it wrap around her neck?
I don't know. I'm not an expert on that.
Well, I'm happy you're not an expert on that. But she was staying with a sailor companion, M.W. Madison, who was 26 at the time, who allegedly slept through the whole night, and he was unable to verify if she jumped or if she fell. That's suspicious.
You know, sometimes you're just so tired you don't realize when your partner or friend falls out.
Falls out of a 9th-story window.
Yep.
Okay.
Some people are deep sleepers.
Not me. So in 1938, Roy Thompson, a gentleman in the Marine Corps and a fireman, jumped from atop the hotel and was found in the skylight of a neighboring building. He'd been staying at the hotel for a few weeks, but I couldn't find any information on whether he had a motive for completing suicide or if he had written any letters or anything like that. So it's not definitive that he 100% was completing suicide. There is the possibility that he was pushed. Unlikely, though.
All right. So what's next?
In September of 1944, Dorothy Jean Purcell, who was a war worker for men who were at war, was 19 at the time and staying in the hotel for a few days with Ben Levine, who was a shoemaker, who was 38 at the time. A little trigger warning here for the death of a child, in case anybody wants to skip ahead, about a minute and a half. So Dorothy woke in the middle of the night to severe stomach pains and nausea and went to the bathroom in an effort to not wake her partner so that he couldn't hear her. Her testimony later in court was that, to her surprise, she gave birth to a baby boy without any idea that she'd been pregnant. So scared, alone, not having any clue what to do, considering she was 19, and thinking that the newborn was born deceased, she threw the baby out the window and returned to bed as if nothing happened.
That is awful.
It is very awful. And unfortunately, that baby was actually alive at the time, and he died upon landing on the roof next door after falling nearly 12 stories.
That's awful.
Yeah. So, like I said, she was in court, so she was charged with either murder or manslaughter. Again, different reports. Of the newborn, and at her trial, she was found not guilty for the murder by reason of insanity.
Now that's insane.
It is. And the reason that I think it's so insane is because they determined that she was insane at the time of the murder because she was so confused as to how she'd been pregnant without knowing, but she was sane at the court proceedings.
Can you be temporarily insane in this type of stuff?
Well, I'm not a lawyer, but like I have no idea. To me, that doesn't make sense. But following this ruling, she was admitted to a local general hospital's women's prison ward for psychiatric treatment. So she did get professional help for her mental health. I did want to just make it known that she was consistently referred to as an unwed mother, which seriously adds to the stigmatization she was facing as not only a murderer of her own child, but also that like she was going like had a child out of wedlock at the time. That's just like an interesting factoid to me. But it was interesting to see this because um, it's often forgotten how different times have changed. It's more common now. So. In 1954, Mrs. Helen C. Gurney's body was found on the top of the hotel marquee above pedestrians on the street below after likely falling or jumping from the seventh story room of the Cecil. So, this is the hotel next to the Cecil. She was 55 at the time and was an employee of a San Diego stationery firm. Hotel Cecil employees stated she'd checked into the hotel under the name of Margaret Brown of Denver, Colorado, a few weeks earlier. What's really sad is that hundreds of individuals crowded the area and watched as policemen and firemen got her body down from the top of the marquee. So people watched as her body that had fallen 7 stories was removed from the top of this building.
That is disturbing.
Yeah, so disturbing that another man actually needed immediate medical attention because he had a severe panic attack from witnessing her body being brought down to ground level.
I know a lot of my commentary is that's disturbing or that's awful, but and I really don't have other words for this.
Yeah, I mean, that's what this is. It is all disturbing. But unfortunately for people like us, or fortunately, I guess, that's what makes it so interesting for us to research it.
One way of putting it.
So moving on, in 1962, 65-year-old George Giannini was walking down Main Street when he was struck by the falling body of Pauline Otten, who was 27 at the time. Originally, investigators thought that he and Pauline had completed suicide together by jumping out of the window of her room, which was located on the ninth floor. However, they realized that George had his hands in his pocket and he still had his shoes on, and investigators believed that had he jumped from the ninth story, where Pauline's room was, he would have lost his shoes midair.
So this guy's just walking about, minding his own business, and just a complete other person falls and lands on him, and that's the end for him too.
Yep. It was
Now,
reasoned that he was walking along the sidewalk and just happened to be struck by Pauline's falling body.
now that is a wild way to go.
Yeah, I know. And it said she completed suicide after having an argument with her estranged husband, Dewey, who was 32 years old, about their marital issues. It said that she leapt from the window when Dewey left to go eat dinner, and really unfortunately, the final act before her completion of suicide was taking the life of another.
Is it normal for hotels to have this much death associated with them?
Truthfully, I haven't researched enough hotels to know whether it is or not, but I would suspect that this is not normal. Unless I guess you're living in H.H. Holmes Hotel.
Oh yeah, there's that one too.
But I don't know.
So how many more older deaths do we got here before we get to the latest one?
So I got one more older death, and then I have just some interesting people that stayed there.
All right, go ahead.
So our last death at least up until that I could find, the one that happened in 2013, we have 1964, Goldie Osgood, who was 59 at the time, who was known as the Pigeon Lady, or Pigeon Goldie, because she would feed the pigeons on the roof of the hotel. How cute is that?
That seems very innocent. Are you want to tell me she got murdered?
She was murdered. So, trigger warning for sexual assault. She was unfortunately found strangled, raped, stabbed, and robbed in her room.
That's awful.
Yeah,
When did this happen?
this was 1964.
Gee.
Yeah, she was found lying next to her Dodgers baseball cap and a bag of pigeon feed.
Did they ever find out who did it?
Nope.
Oh, no, that's even worse.
Yeah, so she was a retired local telephone operator who was beloved by much of her surrounding community. So it was devastating for a lot of people to find out that she had been killed, and especially in such a brutal way. Yeah. So investigating police did actually make an arrest, though. They arrested a man on the street, Jaquez Ellinger, who was covered in blood, but he was later cleared, and the true killer has never been found.
Did they say why he was cleared?
Nope, couldn't find it anywhere.
You know, I don't think walking around covered in blood is a regular thing. I personally have never done that in my life. Have you?
No.
Then we cannot relate. I don't think that's a normal thing, but apparently if it is there, then it is.
Yeah. All right, so not only is the Cecil Hotel home to its fair share of murders and suicides, but it has also had some pretty interesting guests. For instance, it is suspected that the infamous Night Stalker serial killer, Richard Ramirez, stayed at the hotel for a few weeks during his home invasion crime spree between 1984 and 1985. He reportedly stayed on the 14th floor and paid $14 a night for his room.
Damn, I'd kill for that price, but not kill literally like how what he did.
So I know this isn't a true crime specific podcast, and we really do like to focus on the unknown, the unsolved, and the unseen. Uh, but I would
Hey,
like
you said the title.
I did get it right. But I did want to give a little bit of a background into Richard Ramirez for context, and because this is the kind of thing that got me super interested in psychology, and this kind of field in general originally. Is that cool?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so Richard Ramirez is known for killing 13 people with no modus operandi or MO. So he killed with different weapons ranging from guns to hammers and knives. He raped and sodomized children and women of varying ages, mutilated some bodies after death, and was also a necrophiliac.
That's quite a lot to his name.
Yeah. So sometimes he let his victims live, sometimes he didn't, and in some cases, he let one victim live and then killed the other. So very confusing. He baffled the local police during his year-long crime spree, starting on June 8th, 1984 in Los Angeles, and ending when he was caught on August 31st, 1985 in Phoenix, Arizona. One of the only things that linked these crimes was a hastily drawn pentagram somewhere at the scene and making his victims claim that they loved Satan before raping or killing them. Following his arrest while at his first court appearance, he had a pentagram drawn on his hand and yelled out, "Hail Satan." He was ultimately convicted of 13 counts of murder, 5 attempted murders, 11 sexual assaults, and 14 burglaries, and was given 12 death sentences and over 100 years in prison. However, he ultimately escaped the gas chamber because he was on death row, because he died of liver failure in 2013 after receiving treatment for cancer.
Jeez, he was alive in 2013.
Yep, his spree was in the 80s, and he was alive until 2013.
When again did he get arrested? And what more? When did he get convicted?
He was arrested in 85. I don't know the exact year that he was convicted, but I would assume that it was in the end of the 80s. So there's some reports that Ramirez was seen dropping bloody clothing in the dumpsters out back behind the hotel and then walking to his room naked. But this has been debunked, likely, because one of the main reasons witnesses to his crimes could identify him is because he wore the same clothes over and over again. Can you imagine how bad this dude smelled?
That room had stank.
Yeah, this guy's got like 13 murders, 5 attempted murders, etc., etc., and he's wearing the same clothes every single time.
Weird. Okay, that guy is not the weird allegation.
He is not. This also doesn't dispel the rumors that he was a regular face on Skid Row, uh, because it is said that he conducted a lot of his heinous and nefarious business within a room at the hotel and also walked Skid Row a lot. So he's actually not the only serial killer to stay at the Cecil Hotel, if you can believe it.
Really?
Yep, I'm going to tell you about the next one. So in 1991, Austrian killer Johann Unterweger arrived in LA and stayed at the Cecil Hotel. Many claim that this was a homage to Richard Ramirez or an attempt to recreate Ramirez's crimes, but I'm not sure that this was actually ever proven or if this was a theory just to create like a sensationalize it. So, I don't know. During his 5-week stay at the Cecil Hotel, he hired 3 different prostitutes: Shannon Exley, Irene Rodriguez, and Peggy Booth, and then he strangled them with their bra straps, raped them, and removed their bodies from the building via the back entrances. If you can believe it, before coming to the US, because again, he's from Austria, he was convicted of murder of a young woman in either 1974 or 1976. Couldn't find the exact date, but was released in 1990 after the public launched a campaign to release him from prison, saying he'd been reformed by the system.
Well, I think I can say they were wrong.
Yeah, and it's really unfortunate because it allowed for 3 more lives to be taken. He became a minor celebrity due to his release from prison, and then also became an Austrian news column writer focused on crime in LA. So that's what made him make his trek to LA. And then he rode along with the police while they patrolled the streets for criminals and prostitutes. And then he ended up, like, he was patrolling the streets, the very streets that he ended up selecting his victims from. So, all in all, Johann was found guilty of at least 8 or 9 murders. I have no idea how this went from 1 in Austria, 3 while at the Cecil Hotel, to like 8 or 9. But then he later completed suicide while in police custody. Again, varying reports. He was either in Miami serving time for crimes he completed there, or he was in an Austrian prison.
And when was this?
This was in the 1990s.
I feel like there should be more accurate reporting for the 90s.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be that I just didn't research hard enough. And now we get to what really makes this hotel known. Likely the most famous of mysteries and unsolved deaths at the Cecil is that of 21-year-old Elisa Lam, who was the daughter of immigrants from Hong Kong that were currently residing in Canada.
And I feel like if anybody listening is like me, and in the later 2010s, you were just on YouTube and you looked up like scary or creepy stuff, probably know about this.
Yep. So Elisa was a university student studying at her hometown university in British Columbia, Canada, but she was on a trip visiting LA for a much needed reprieve from her schoolwork. Before leaving for her trip, she promised her parents that she'd contact them on the daily with updates on her whereabouts and activities for the day, just to let them know that she was okay. They were obviously very nervous about her traveling alone to a foreign country, and very nervous because she was their little girl, which is just devastating. So Elisa created a blog online on Tumblr for all those older folk like myself out there. That was big in the 2010s, late 2000s, early 2010s.
Yeah, I never touched it myself.
I was definitely on Tumblr. So she created a blog on there where she openly discussed her struggles with bipolar disorder and depression and her feelings of hopelessness and helplessness. She was reportedly on a multitude of medications, but was not always reliable for taking them, which made her parents even more nervous about her traveling alone, and this would actually end up coming up later. I did find some reports of what medications she was on. I didn't find it necessary to include that in here, just because to me that is like extra personal information, and also I don't think it matters for the story.
Well, are there any of those that shouldn't be taken together or don't work well with certain things she had?
No, so any of the medications that she was on, and because I do know a little bit about medications from my job, her doctors would have verified that none of them would have had effects that went against each other. Um, in late January of 2013, Elisa traveled via the Amtrak and buses to San Diego, where she would begin her journey of self-exploration and solo travel.
I should give a big shout out to public transportation. Woo!
Yes. So, just as she'd promised, she checked in with her family daily and posted photos of her destinations online. And I will say the public transportation was probably the safest part of her trip, which is really sad.
Okay, still woo, public transportation, safe.
Yeah. So on January 28th, she checked into the stay on Main, which is part of the Cecil Hotel, that was aptly renamed following like a renovation that occurred in 2011. As it was through its many decades of existence, this hotel was a hotbed for young travelers because of its budget rooms and its access to the downtown area. And to make it even more budget friendly, the hotel offered shared rooms, which Elisa rented. However, after only a few days, her roommate was put off by Elisa's, quote, bad behaviors, and Elisa switched to a single room. I couldn't find anything, though, on like what behaviors Elisa was actually doing. Other than that, her roommates described it as bad and odd. So, like, ultimately, though, it was enough for the hotel staff to move her to a single room away from other people. But, like, I, I wouldn't, like, is it subjective? Was it up to the roommate that it was bad? Like, what was going on there? I'm not sure. However, panic and worry began to set in for Elisa's family on January 31st, the day that she was supposed to check out from the hotel, when they heard nothing from her. And while not completely unusual because she had run away once before, Elisa was not suicidal or self injurious at the time, as far as they knew. And so her disappearance on the trip was really concerning for her family. And they ended up flying from British Columbia to LA to help in the search for her. The last person who had supposedly seen Elisa alive was Katie Orphan, who was a local bookstore owner who reported seeing Elisa buying books in her shop. However, because there was no probable cause of nefarious actions against Elisa, the police were unable to do more than search the hotel hallways via scent dogs and kind of just go off this report from this woman, um, because they didn't have a search warrant to do so. And so, after about a week, since she was last seen by that woman in the bookstore, the police finally started distributing flyers online and to locals in the area. And then that's what really brought the public in on her disappearance before that video came into play. So soon after her disappearance, when they really started investigating it, police released footage of Lisa in the hotel's elevator from the surveillance cameras. This video of what may have been Elisa's final moments went viral following its release and became widely known within true crime communities. If you had literally any presence on the internet during this time, you very much likely saw this video of Elisa entering the elevator, acting suspicious of someone who may have been standing outside the elevator, crouching low before pushing herself back against the wall in what is believed to be in an effort to hide from whatever may be lurking on the other side of the open doors. And then she moves back towards the back of the elevator, moves back forward towards the doors, peeks out from the entrance to the elevator, moves back in, presses many of the buttons on the wall panel, and again, what looks like an attempt to get the elevator to maybe shut quickly or to move. Following that, she steps back outside the elevator, makes some motions with her hands as if she was gesturing while talking to somebody, walks forward, and then completely disappears from the video.
And this is a video that's fairly easy to see. It's all over online. How long did this take place over?
So this video was about 4 minutes. There is some believed to be some time discrepancies on the timestamps, which I'll get into later. But it is roughly 4 minutes. So some speculate that she may have been playing a Korean elevator game that intends to take you to a different dimension. Some of the reasoning is that she's of Asian descent, so she's from China, and that she's seen pushing all the buttons. I don't agree with this theory though, because the elevator stays on the same floor and she's hiding in the corners. Like, I truly believe she thought something or someone was coming after her. I don't think she was trying to play a game to switch dimensions. It also brought forward many theories about her fate and the mystery that surrounds her disappearance, especially following the discovery that Santiago Lopez, a maintenance worker at the hotel, would discover just a few weeks later. on February 19th, 2013. Following her disappearance in this really unnerving video, tenants of the hotel began complaining to the front office about a strange color and unusual taste coming from their water. Santiago was then sent to the hotel's rooftop, where a 1,000-gallon water containment tank was, and this tank was responsible for providing water to guest rooms, showers, sinks, the hotel's kitchen, and the coffee shop that was also in the hotel. Unfortunately, upon opening the tank, Santiago would discover something that would haunt him for years and explain the changes that were occurring in the water. In the tank was 21-year-old Elisa Lam's nude body with her clothes floating beside her. At this time, she'd been missing for 19 days. And while this discovery may have given her parents and police some semblance of relief because they had found their daughter, even though it was very gruesome, it really just led to more unanswered questions. And unfortunately, those questions would continue to remain unanswered as of today. There are some theories that offer a little bit of an explanation to how Elisa's body ended up in the water tank, but truthfully, none of them offer the whole truth. So, some believe she may have taken psychedelic drugs that led her to hallucinating a threat, which would explain her unusual mannerisms in the elevator video, or that there was some sort of paranormal or supernatural presence in the hotel that she could feel or see that led her to the hotel rooftop. Some others speculate that maybe she suffered a severe manic episode due to forgetting medication that led her to climb into the tank on the roof and drown. A toxicology report on her body did indicate that she hadn't taken her full medication dose on the morning of her death. So this is not entirely implausible.
So, how long was she in the tank?
If she died on the day that she went missing, she would have been in the tank for 19 days. And water does not do well with bodies.
I could take that guess.
Yeah. So, again, her not taking her medication could be a plausible reason for this happening, as individuals who are in manic episodes often believe that they're invincible or that they can do anything, which leads to serious injuries because they don't recognize threats of harm to themselves. But it's also possible that she was suffering from psychosis. So many people believe that psychosis is only related to schizophrenic disorders. That's like kind of what we usually think of. Or they think that it's related to psychedelics or hallucinogenic drugs. And while bipolar disorder can also present with psychosis. So you can be bipolar 1 or bipolar 2 with psychotic features. So that could have been part of her mental illness she already had diagnosed. And while I 100% believe that mental health could have easily been a part of this, I'm truthfully not in that camp. Just because Santiago, the guy who found her body, reported that it should have been so incredibly difficult for her to open the top of that water tank, let alone to even get up to the roof to even do so. She would have had to have found access to the roof, climb the ladder to the top of the tank, then use strength that she likely didn't possess to open the top of the tank. Then she would have had to jump or fall into the tank, either before or after removing her clothing and belongings, then allow herself to drown face up in the water. And it also would have been incredibly difficult for her to shut the lid of the tank the whole way from inside the tank itself. And it was completely shut.
So she was face up.
She was face up in the water.
Unless the water getting pulled from the tank somehow flipped her over and confused on how she drowned.
Yeah. Well, that's like part of the theory is that that's why people think that maybe she was dead before she went in. No one could figure out that whether she was dead before she went in or not. Like I couldn't find like an actual report on it.
19 days, a lot of days to lose evidence.
Yeah, exactly. And she's in water. So a lot of that water was going into hotel rooms.
And into people, which is gross. I just still can't believe that fact that people were tasting funny water. You're drinking dead people water.
I know, it's really horrible.
I don't know how I'd react if I learned I drank that.
I would not react very pretty, I'll tell you that.
I'd be traumatized.
Definitely. So, not only do I think it was impossible for her to get into this tank by herself, during the wrongful death lawsuit that Elisa's parents filed against the hotel, Pedro Tovar, who was an engineer for the hotel, reported that only employees were allowed access to the roof and to the codes to deactivate the alarm that would have gone off if the roof was unintentionally or intentionally accessed by guests. So,
So was the alarm off when she went up?
yeah, it never went off.
So was that like, was there a reason it didn't go off?
So, I don't know. If the door to the roof had been opened at any time, the front desk would have been notified and immediately aware that an individual was on the roof that should not have been there. During the wrongful death suit, though, it was found that the security system was in perfect working condition. So I couldn't find a law whether I couldn't find whether there was a log of the door being opened or not. But either way, the front desk would have been notified. Whether she accessed that roof on her own or if she accessed the roof with someone from hotel staff who would have been able to deactivate the alarm. So it's possible that a hotel employee or an individual assisting her that had a code, if they were assisting her in completion of suicide or if they were killing her, um could have they could have been a hotel staff
And they
member.
can't see who disabled it
It wasn't disabled.
or, or circumvented.
Yeah, they have no idea though how it was they have no idea how she got into that tank without any of the alarm systems going off or being deactivated.
So that's suspicious.
Yeah, and so in the end, her death was ruled by a coroner as an accidental drowning. And since there's no evidence of any kind of foul play or assault, the case became closed. And the wrongful death lawsuit was also dismissed because there were no findings, again, that the Cecil Hotel had any improper security features or had responsibility for her accessing the roof.
I think that'd be hard to prove liability or negligence on the hotel in this.
I do think so too, and unfortunately that is what happened is they couldn't prove it.
It, in my opinion, seems like somebody else had to be involved.
Yeah. There is a couple more theories. So one other theory that I found that would make sense if I disregard mine and other thoughts on her ability to get herself into the tank. So if we pretend she could get herself into the tank somehow, this could make sense. Some speculate that if that were true, maybe she became hypothermic in the water. So when you get hypothermia, your body ends up feeling incredibly warm. And this could have led her to removing her clothing if she was feeling that warmth. And then she drowned because she froze in hypothermic levels. I didn't find anything online about whether her body had showed any evidence of hypothermia during the autopsy, but that is a theory that I kind of saw thrown around.
All right, that's an interesting one. I never heard that one.
Yeah, I didn't either when I was first listening to this case. That wasn't a theory that I had know much about either.
So what other ones are there?
There's a theory that a death metal musician nicknamed Morbid, real name Pablo Vergara, was responsible for killing her and placing her body inside of the tank. He apparently wrote and recorded, quote, selfie style. I don't really understand what that means, other than that I'm assuming it's the position of a selfie.
Okay.
A song about a year before Elisa died while staying at the Cecil Hotel, and the song was titled Died in Pain.
I feel like what music does he do?
Death metal.
So death metal, name Morbid. I feel like that's just in character for somebody like that.
Most definitely. And he also had a song about drowning and had posted a mirror selfie with the caption, "The killer is me." Which, again, I think is just part of the scene.
Yeah, I think that's just people grasp for anything.
Yeah. So some speculate these songs were about what he wanted to do to someone at the hotel. But he did have an airtight alibi because he was in Mexico at his recording studio at the time of the murder. And this was corroborated by contracts with the recording studio that indicated he was there. So he wasn't anywhere near this.
I feel like this one was such a stretch.
It is such a stretch, and
I,
it's so devastating.
I put this one on level with Russian grotesque mutant children from last week.
Yeah, I would probably do the same. I would say that this is probably more devastating though, because he stopped writing music and he had plans to take his own life because of this, and it led to him having to have a stay in a psychiatric hospital and then subsequent mental health treatment for years.
So did people like harass him online over this?
Yep.
That's
They
awful.
would go onto like all his videos and comment like horrible stuff.
Man, people will believe the wildest thing
I know.
and just go crazy with it.
Yeah, it's really sad. I definitely do not believe this guy bears any responsibility for this murder or wrongful death. And I feel so bad that internet vigilante sleuths like ruined his life for him.
They just need a scapegoat, is what those vigilantes wanted.
Yeah, and it's so sad that just this random man who's just trying to do his thing got pinned for it. Which like he didn't even get pinned. Like he didn't get charged or anything like that. It still took over his life. Fortunately for him though, and death metal fans everywhere, he is now a part of another band called Dynasty of Darkness, and so I encourage you to go check out their music and support him. So if you like death metal, I did check it out a little bit. I like grunge. Death metal's not really my thing,
Not
but
my thing.
but I definitely go encourage you to check that out. Give them support. Let this guy get back on with his life.
Yeah, for all whoever of you listen to that stuff, but it ain't me.
Yeah. To this day, armchair detectives are increasingly interested in her actions in the elevator video and the mystery that surrounds her getting into that water tank and going unnoticed there for almost 3 weeks.
All right, you said armchair detectives. Are we armchair detectives too?
I guess we would be.
Cool. I think that's a promotion.
Promotion. Eddie, promotion.
What?
SpongeBob reference.
Oh, I'm ready.
Promotion.
Promotion. I'm ready. Promotion.
There is another theory, which is the final theory that I will go into, that does add some credence to there being maybe a cover up, maybe an employee involved, if a employee was caught on camera helping her, or if there was a faulty security system, or if there was something even more sinister going on. There's a spot in the video around 2.5 minutes where the video appears to like skip forward about 53 seconds. The timestamp doesn't change. So either the timestamp is from the time like police footage itself, or it was doctored to appear the same. Um, I guess the doors just appear to jump shut quickly, and so some suspect that that missing time is crucial to solving her murder.
So you said 53 seconds.
Yeah,
That's a very specific time.
I know. I really couldn't find much on like how they made it to that conclusion of 53 seconds. All I know is that um, it is a theory that's circulating out there. I don't know how I feel about it, because to me, like this seems like, yeah, this is like while the system was working properly according to all accounts, like it was still like kind of old, and it could have malfunctioned like literally any other true crime case where CCTV footage is incredibly unreliable. So that brings us to the end of Elisa Lam's disappearance. And the gruesome nature and eerie past of the Cecil Hotel and its use for inspiration for shows like American Horror Stories season on hotels perpetuates its reputation as a morbid location for the macabre and mysterious.
So I have a question here. Because there's plenty of haunted hotels out here. This place haunted with the history it has?
Honestly, I could not find hardly any information on whether this hotel was haunted, which was really surprising to me because I thought that that was like a big part of its appeal to people. Um, but I really couldn't find anything. It was mostly just that there was a lot of like uh interesting deaths, the death of Elisa Lam. But I do think it's safe to say that there's probably some hauntings related to the mysterious and devastating deaths that took place here.
So this place is more reality than supernatural.
Yeah, that's kind of the conclusion I've come to. Other than
Yes.
one thing. I found one sentence somewhere.
All right.
Our lovely pigeon Goldie, my beautiful lady feeding the pigeons, can sometimes maybe be felt on the her floor through cold spots in the hallway in her room. That's
Oh,
the only information I found.
all right. That's more than nothing.
Yeah, but people still suspect that this is one of the most haunted hotels in America. So, like, why it's considered that, I have no idea.
Who calls it the most haunted?
If you look up Cecil Hotel, that's like one of the first
Maybe they
sentences.
mean like haunted as in like haunted like disturbing history.
That's what I'm thinking too.
Huh. So do we want to get into final discussion on what we think happened to Elisa Lam?
Sure.
So you want me to go first or you go first?
What are your final thoughts, Frank?
Well, I'm definitely thinking there's some foul play. Going back to one of the things, that Korean elevator game, this is from the 2010s where creepypasta is about, ooh, the elevator game, or ooh, the don't breathe game, and all this weird crap. That stuff was big back then. There were a million different things. I just want to say I think that one is bunk, but I think if the elevator wasn't closing for some time and she was frantically looking around, almost like talking to somebody, the fact that she shouldn't have been able to get to the roof or the water tank without the help of somebody else, I think there has to be some level of foul play here. Who it is, no idea. Possibly hotel staff based on what you said, but I can't point the finger at anyone specific. But I think there had to be foul play there. I do not think that was suicide.
Yeah, I mean, I know that I already shared some of my own theories just kind of throughout as I was talking about theories that were popular for this, but I have to agree. I definitely think that this was not a completion of suicide under any means. If anything, maybe it was an assisted suicide. I'm just not sure why she would do that. There was a lot of information from her parents that yes, she had depression, bipolar disorder with depression, and that like she had mental health. She wasn't taking her medications, but even then, like there was no indication that she was suicidal or that she was engaging in self-injurious behaviors, like anything that maybe would have led to some speculation. So, like in my job as a therapist, I have to do risk assessments for people, and like that's some of the things that we look for. So we look for like whether a person is like having the thoughts, if they have a plan, if they have the means to do so, whether that's access to weaponry, pills, whatever it may be, whether they have the intent, like they intend to follow through with the plan, if they're giving away their possessions, if they're feeling hopeless, if they're feeling like a burden. I mean, there's so many things that we assess for, and I just couldn't find anything online. And again, I'm searching online. Like, who knows what she was actually going through? This is based off of what she was posting on her Tumblr page. This is based off of the information from her parents. I can't say that that is super reliable, just because it's their daughter. Who knows what they want to put out there? But I just think that like she wasn't at a place where suicide was going to be the option that she took next.
Okay, I think that was a more well thought out final thought than me.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I just, for me, that's like kind of where my mind was going. I can't help but have my
Yeah.
mind go that direction. But I 100% agree with you that I just have no idea how she would have got into this tank.
And I think that's why so many people, kind of like this case and like to talk about it and show the video. Because one, the video is creepy, and two, everything after the video is just so confusing. Doesn't seem probable.
Yeah, and I really wish that there was a way that we could get justice for her somehow, or at least find a conclusion to this story so that her parents like can allow her to rest in peace, that they can rest, they can put this behind them and just remember the story, like the love of their daughter and who she was while she was alive, and not this really mysterious and horrific story that unfortunately is following her around now because of the circumstances surrounding her death.
Well, I think we're called unknown, unsolved, unseen. I think this is going to stay unknown and unsolved. I don't think, unless there's some deathbed confession by somebody, I don't think we're ever going to get an answer to this. That's just the unfortunate truth of it.
Yeah, it's just like I even while I was doing the research, I just couldn't help just try to like come up with some sort of some answer. Like I'm a person who really likes answers, which is funny considering I enjoy the unknown, the unsolved, and the unseen. But I do like answers. I like kind of at least trying to find them to the best extent that I can. So I'm not left here wondering like what is happening in the universe, what's happening in the world around me, and it just really grinds my gears. that like there's not a conclusion to this. She's so deserving of a conclusion. Any victim of any kind of crime or any kind of wrongful death or anything like that is so deserving of like an ending to their story that gets them the justice and the peace that they deserve. And it's just devastating that there's so many. I mean, there's these theories that are ruining other people's lives. There's theories that are making her look out to be like a bad guy, like, or that she wasn't taking care of herself, or that she was crazy, or whatever it may be. Like, and that's just so devastating that the memories that her parents have of her right now is of people looking at her like that, as that girl in that creepy video from the elevator. And it, to me, is just so devastating. Like, it just really hurts my heart. Like, I can't imagine my parents, like, having to remember me that way. So, my question to all of you listeners is, was Elisa Lam haunted by something or someone lurking in the halls of the Cecil Hotel? What are your thoughts?
You guys can let your thoughts know on the comments on Spotify or on our Instagram or X.
Yep. And yeah, so make sure you guys go to our Instagram, Unknown, Unsolved, Unseen Pod. Check us out on X. It's UUU Pod. So go look out for that. You can find us on Apple and Spotify. And
And the links to our socials are, well, I don't know if the links work, but at least our handles are on the description of the episode, along with the links if you want to go support the artist of our logo, Puppysaurus.
yeah,
Yeah, so, you know, follow the podcast, give it a like, give it a rating, tell your friends, tell your family, spread the word, and I think that's all we have for today.
yep, that's all I got.
All right. So I think we're going to wrap it up here. We'll be seeing you guys again next Monday for some cryptid action this time.
All right.
So, guys, remember
To look for
the unknown,
the unsolved.
the unseen.
Thanks for listening.
Bye, guys.